Welcome, folks, to the pre-show. I'm setting up right now. Actually, there's one very important piece of setup I have to do right now, and it means you're going to see the wall in my bedroom for several minutes while I get a cup of coffee. Because that is the most important part of this show. Be right back. Today is Tiffany's birthday, according to Facebook. Hopefully, I didn't make a noise on here. Probably did, my luck. Okay, we're getting ready, folks. Blinky blue light. Man, I have a really nice phone. It's really rednecked out now. So I have my Nexus, fairly nice phone. It's really rednecked out. I got my Nexus 5X. Did a terrible job putting on a screen protector. Got a clear cover case that is got a magnet in it. That I put a magnet in it so that I can smack it on a little magnet mount in my car. So, I mean, the only thing this phone is missing at this point is duct tape, which, hey, I might just put a little duct tape somewhere on it just so that it's redneck as possible. Bobby Sue. Can't you see my love is true? I wanna marry you. Bobby Sue. Sorry, that song's been stuck in my head for the past 2 days. I heard it on the radio. Okay, folks. Well, one true fact is that you do not see a David Williams here. David Williams was going to be my co-host. His work schedule has unfortunately changed, so it's one sort of final nail in the coffin setback for him. So moving forward, at least for now, I do not have a co-host. So it's going to be yet again just me. I am going to work on it. We're going to try to get someone in here, but I'm not going to work real hard because it's got to be the right person. I mean, I'm going to work hard, but it's got to be the right person. So, someone with a good personality who I gel with pretty well and conversationally can banter back and forth with pretty well. So we'll keep our eyes open. I work with a lot of cool dudes, so maybe I'll find someone at work, or maybe somebody out there who's listening to this podcast is interested in becoming a co-host. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and, that's a good idea. I'm going to add that. Let me pull up the doc. Let me do a little typification here. Actually, you know what? I'll just try to splinter it in there because I got to get going. I got to get this going. I got a heart out today, folks. That's another thing. This show, those of you who are watching this and who sometimes maybe listen to the audio podcast, you will find that this is not going to probably be in the iTunes and on the other places until maybe Monday morning, late Sunday night, because I've got a hard out today at noon, and I won't have time to really edit this. So I've got to do the editing, I've got to do the post-production, uploads, all that other stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a delay there. All right. Test.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Cool. That works. All right. Start recording in Audacity, minimize it, and Audacity is doing its goofies. Stop. That's right. I always forget that speaker thing in Audacity. I've got to change it or it echoes back. Audacity is recording. Really, Audacity? Sometimes I want to eat my microphone. It looks like a kind of a, well, unattractive ice cream cone. Okay. Now Audacity is properly recording. Minimize that. Show doc. We are the common American live. Okay. We are the Common American from Texas, and I'm your host, John Bailey. It's a show about everything and anything that affects the common American, the strength of valor of this great nation, from the newlyweds working to support themselves on minimum wage to the ex-convict who just wants an opportunity to be better but can't get a job, the priest who wants to save your soul to the activist who thinks that priest just wants to take your money and assault your child. We must stop bickering and start talking, debating, and working together to make this country great. I'm your host, John Bailey, and we've got another episode this week of The Common American, the new breed of crazy. In today's two stories that I've come up with, we're going to talk about one story that's pretty heavy, and then one that's pretty lighthearted and pretty and close to my. Both of them are actually pretty close to my own personal life in many ways, and most of these stories are. They're things that I'm interested in. Now, eventually, we will have a co-host here, but I'm putting this out here because the co-host I had in mind, basically at this point, has fallen through. David Williams was intended to be my co-host, and he was a very good choice. He was a gentleman I could banter back and forth with quite well. The difficulty is that David has recently changed his jobs, or at least his position within the company, and his schedule has changed. So his schedule doesn't match up with mine at all in any way, shape, or form, so he just flat out can't do the show. It would have been great. But I'm putting this out there to you, the common American. If any of you out there would be interested in being a co-host on this show, I encourage you to email feedback@commonamerican.com or call the show. I've got an 800 number, not an 800 number. I've got a Google Voice number, 512-829-7664. That's 512-829-7664, and leave a voicemail. You can also email video clips, anything you'd like. Send in your submissions. I'm looking for a full-time co-host who is familiar with shows like Tom Merritt's Daily Tech News Show. That's the format of the show, and that's actually I use his show doc as my template, heavily modified because I don't follow his exact flow. So we're going to go ahead and bust into our first story today. In the 2 p.m. hour on Thursday this week, March 31st, 2016, the Virginia State Police were conducting an exercise in a Greyhound bus station in Richmond, Virginia. At approximately 2:45 p.m., a 37-year-old state trooper, Chad Philip Dermeyer, approached an individual in order to question him. That man opened fire at point-blank range. As of showtime today, I do not believe they've released the name of the suspect. In the mayhem, a total of 4 bystanders were injured, 2 with gunshot wounds. The state trooper and the shooting suspect both died of their gunshot wounds. In a quote by Colonel Stephen Flaherty, who is the superintendent of the Virginia State Police, he stated, "This has been a tough evening. It was a tragedy. It was quite the tragedy for all of us." That was during a news conference Thursday night. Now, I will include a link in the show notes to the Virginia State Police Facebook page, where they have a fully outlined press release. Now, that's the initial press release. There are stories everywhere about this. You can read about this all over the place. I included the press release instead of just some random story because I don't know who broke the story, and it doesn't do anybody justice to pick a particular news story when there's not really a good place to go. But what I want to talk about is a couple of things here. I am the son of a police officer, as I've mentioned before. And at one point, I did a bit of a rant on my previous sort of podcast, which this is the true podcast. That was an attempt. The rant I did was about gun control because there's three things everybody out there should know about me. One, I am the son of a police officer. Probably a pretty good one. He made chief of police by his mid-30s. Very rare. That gives me a unique perspective on, I believe it gives me a unique perspective on the police world, in that I'm not a police officer myself, and he also died at about that same age when he made chief of police. So I spent most of my youthful years, half of my youth being raised by a police officer and half not. But I was also raised by that same individual who was a hunter and a fisherman and believed strongly in the right to bear arms. The right to bear arms is not to protect you from criminals. It really isn't. It's to protect you from your government. That's what, if you really read and try to understand the Second Amendment, which it's only 2 sentences, folks. I don't have it in front of me, or I would read it to you. But when you talk about gun control, this, you have to understand, it's not the gun that kills the people. It's not a gun. A gun can't pull its own trigger. If that man had been standing in that bus station and had been crazy enough to want to kill somebody, and that cop walked up to him and he was close enough, had he had a knife, it would have been the same result, or it would have been a similar result. That officer still could have been murdered in cold blood by a crazy person with the ability and the tools to perform the actions he had in his mind. People talk about police brutality. People talk about the right to bear arms quite often. They go hand in hand because when you talk about police officers being killed, 90% of the time, admittedly, it's at the end of a barrel of a gun. And 99% of the time, when you talk about police officers shooting somebody or using excessive force, unfortunately, it is also at the end of the barrel of a gun. The guns get the attention because of that. They get the focus. They get everybody. They get the media's attention, and the media wants to spin it as hard as they can into the direction of the political sites. I almost said political gun sites because it's an apt term. It puts something front and center besides the actual problem, though, because every single one of these people who have perpetrated an act like this turn out to be somewhat disturbed in one way or another. The Colorado shootings, all the way back to Columbine. These individuals it always turns out that they had something going on in their lives, showing that they are a little bit crazy, a little bit nuts. And the fact that they were allowed and able to purchase a gun didn't negate that fact. And you can be a perfectly stable individual, and events in your life lead you to become unstable. That can happen. So at the point in your life at which you purchase that weapon, and then later on, you kind of go a little nuts. It's unfortunate, but the problem is not the weapon itself. It's not the purchasing power of the ability to procure that weapon. Because I'll tell you this too. The secondary problem with this is that you can go buy a gun from a friend or a buddy, and nobody knows about it. You can steal guns. You can get weapons without following the legal path to get them. So making a law preventing people from getting guns doesn't prevent people from getting guns in any way, shape, or form. Guess what, people? Cocaine is illegal. And people still buy it because they can. Cocaine is illegal to buy and sell. Crack is illegal to buy and sell. Methamphetamine is illegal to buy and sell. It's also illegal to consume. That doesn't stop drug addicts from purchasing it and using it. It's illegal to shoot people. So when you talk about, in most cases, when you talk about making a law that makes it harder to get guns, it already kind of is. You already have to go through a waiting period when you purchase a gun, unless, at least in Texas, you're a concealed carry license holder. So, coming back around, and I'm swaying away from the main story a little bit and getting off on a tangent about gun control. Sadly, it's not just about gun control. It's also about the inability of people to humanize police officers. Now, I don't want to make excuses because there are a lot of bad cops. You really don't become a cop unless you want one of about 3 or 4 things in your life. Cops are either people who genuinely want to help people and follow through that career path because they find that they can make the most difference sitting in that patrol car. When a good cop pulls somebody over for speeding, the thought in the back of his head is, I'm preventing this idiot from killing somebody because he's driving too fast. When a bad cop pulls someone over, I am pulling you over because I have power over you, and I'm going to express that power the minute I walk up to your door. Hi, I'm sorry, I was speeding. Give me your license and registration, ma'am. Do you know what the speed limit is in this area? You were doing 15 miles per hour over the speed limit. Yeah, and that, you're not saving or protecting anyone with that attitude. If you're a police officer, you're not. If you can't approach people with respect, you do not deserve it. Period. I don't care what position you're in. I don't care if you're arresting me for something I actually committed, a crime I actually committed, which, by the way, I have a clean record. Something I'm rather proud of. I've never done anything egregiously enough that the cops know about that they would ever send me to jail for. That being said, if you're going to arrest me, you don't need to be disrespectful to me. You have that right, and you have that ability. You don't have the moral authority to be that way because you, sir, are most likely not perfect. I know I'm not. Now, that cop was somebody's son, somebody's father, possibly, probably somebody's husband. I watched a video yesterday on Facebook of a police officer who walked up to an individual who was most likely intoxicated at an intersection, was interrogating that individual when she decided to stomp on the gas pedal. He attempted to reach into the vehicle and shut off the engine. It was probably a judgment error. It was a mistake. It was not a good mistake either. He ended up with multiple broken bones and I think punctured lung or something like that because the car literally ran him over. But what was going on in the back of that cop's mind was this lady is hammered, and I have got to stop her from hurting someone. Now. That's a good cop. That's someone who's there to protect and serve, because that's what a cop's purpose is to protect and serve. Yeah, the problem in this country is mental illness. It really is. Mental illness and the ability to treat it. First of all, deeming somebody as mentally ill and then disallowing them the rights of a standard citizen because of it is a slippery slope. Because at what point do you say someone is mentally ill enough to maybe not drive a car? What point do you say someone is mentally ill enough to not have a certain type of job? Because at that point, you have to start to quantify mental illness. And mental illness is something that's extremely hard to quantify. It's something that is, you can say someone is disturbed, and you can smack a label on this person as schizophrenic if you want to. That's a mental illness. Schizophrenia is a mental illness. And if you've ever seen the movie A Beautiful Mind, some of the most intelligent people in the world have been schizophrenic. So it doesn't make someone incapable of functioning and being a productive member of society just because they're mentally ill. But at the same time, some levels and some forms of mental illness should prevent you from being able to do things like purchase a gun. And maybe we do need to quantify that and have it be a requirement for a driver's license that if you are diagnosed with a particular type of mental illness, it is documented on your driver's license. And when you present that driver's license to purchase a weapon, if that documentation so says, you are not allowed to purchase said weapon. That's my thought right there. Make it a documentation. Make it nothing more than a checkbox, like you're a donor. I'm a lung donor, and I have multiple personality. Maybe. And unfortunately, I am no mental health expert. I wish I could. This is a one-man operation here. I wish I had the money to pay for someone to come on this show and be an expert on mental illness for me, because I would love to get the information, but not only have the discussion about mental illness in America in its current state. Moving forward, I want you guys to send your feedback to me about this story and others, and I need ideas for stories on a weekly basis. So if you're listening to this podcast and you see a story out there, go to commonamerican.com, look for my submit link at the top of the page, and submit your stories, because I'm going to be using that to talk about whatever's going on in that week. We definitely want to be able to move forward and have great discussions about what's going on in the world. And in order to do that, it can't just be me out there looking for stories. I need your input. So feedback at commonamerican.com, or go to commonamerican.com on your web browser and click on submit after you read a story that's of interest to you and you want to hear an opinion about it. So moving on to the next story, again, we're moving from something kind of heavy to something really lighthearted and something very close to my soul. Tesla. For the past probably 10 years, I have been pining over Tesla. And not because I'm an environmental tree hugger, because I'm a guy who wants to go to work without having to spend $50 a week. And if I could have a vehicle that was affordable that would allow me to do that, I would love it. It would be awesome. I want a Tesla. Give me a Tesla.
Yeah, that's cool.
I had to use that just because it's the right point in the show to talk about it. Yeah, that's cool. In any case, Tesla, on March 31st, 2016, Elon Musk took the stage at their Hawthorne, California motor facility and announced the hotly anticipated Model 3. With an expected range of over 215 miles on a single charge and a starting price of $35,000 before incentives, it's far more affordable than anything Tesla's ever done. Most of their cars, the Model X, the Model S, they all start over $1,000. And although Tesla is certainly trying to appeal to the cost-conscious Americans out there, they're not using that as their selling point. One of the things that he did at the opening of the show is he quoted this study done by MIT in 2013, mind you, that there are 53,000 deaths a year that in America alone, I believe his quote was, in America alone, that can be equated to the auto industry. Well, I read that article, or at least skimmed it. It's huge. I found the document. It's on MIT's website, and I included a link to it in the show notes, but never once in there does it talk about the auto industry specifically. It talks about pollution, and pollution is a real thing. Whether or not you agree that global warming results from pollution, pollution is a real thing, and yes, pollution is bad. All of us agree pollution is not a good thing. If you put your mouth over a tailpipe of a car and inhale, it will kill you. That's not good. But that's not why I want a Tesla. I don't care. I really don't. I do not care about, Tesla, or I do not care about, anyhow, I'll edit that part of the show out. I don't want to say I don't care, because I care about the environment, obviously. What I care about, the reason I want a Tesla is because it's just freaking cool. It's an electric car that you plug in at night. Yes, your power bills go up by what? $20 a month. Right now, and I'm not going to get rid of my Bronco, by the way, if I buy one of these. That's a big if, because $35,000 for a good old boy from Texas is a chunk of change to come up with. But it is also a really cool car. I ain't getting rid of my old gas-guzzling Bronco, because guess what? My gas-guzzling Bronco takes me fishing. And this old boy likes to fish. That car can do zero. The car should be able to do 0 to 60 in, I think they said, 6 seconds or something like that. A $35,000 car that can do 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. Yes, please. Now, that'll probably be the dual motor version. It'll probably be more like 10, 20 seconds, something like that. Maybe more in the single motor version, the affordable version of the car. A couple of things about the car that I noticed that I don't know that I like. The dash, there is no dash. There's a touchscreen, 15-inch touchscreen tablet sticking out of the center console. That is your speedometer and everything. And there's been other cars that have been out that are like that. I think I test drove a Nissan Leaf several years back that had a centered dash, and I didn't like it because you're looking off-center down to the right to look at what's going on with your vehicle, instead of just looking down from the steering wheel slightly to see what's going on. I think Tesla will eventually change that. I think the eventual Teslas will have some sort of heads-up displays. That'll be cool, because it's Tesla. I mean, come on, man. It's the most, in my opinion, the Tesla is the most overall technologically advanced car in the world, in my opinion. Simply because it's the only fully electric car that can go 200 plus miles on a charge. Forgetting all of the other doodads, the auto drive, the self drive, whatever they're calling it. Forgetting all the other technology built into the car. 200 miles on a charge, just right there. That makes it, if not the most technologically advanced car in the world, close to it. Nothing else touches a Tesla as far as technology goes. Now, the other The other cool thing here about those cars is my feeling is it's also going to be the most insurable car, mass market car in the world. It'll probably be cheap on insurance because it's pretty dang safe. If the Model 3 is any indication, there have been crashes in which the Model 3s have been crushed and stabbed, and there was one where a Model 3 ran over a metal beam in California, puncturing the battery and actually penetrated the cabin of the vehicle slightly. No explosions, no sparks, no electricity, nobody got shocked, nothing caught on fire. The car just didn't run anymore. That's safety. And that's hard to do with batteries. By the way, batteries are devices that explode when metal touches them if it does so improperly. So that's an achievement. Now, that might have been a stroke of luck that maybe the beam penetrated the battery compartment in such a way that it just simply missed all of the electrical connections. How that would happen, I don't know, but maybe it just got lucky. But nobody got hurt, and there's been a few crashes like that, and Tesla repetitively keeps breaking new ground in regards to safety. They keep passing all of the safety tests with flying colors. So there's that, but a couple of things about Tesla that you want to keep in mind. Tesla is out to make a statement. Elon Musk is trying to make a statement with Tesla. Tesla, the motor company, actually has a different president, and he was interviewed during, I can't remember, I should have documented his name because it just popped into my head to even talk about it. Elon Musk is not the president of Tesla. He's the CEO, but he's not the president. Tesla, the company, you have to remember, Elon is splitting his time between Tesla and SpaceX. And he's had to put a lot of effort in SpaceX as of late. So his attention is not 100% on Tesla. Their focus is making a profitable product that people want to buy. He lays out the general ground rules for the company itself, but somebody else is doing the work, and somebody else is doing the planning, and somebody else is doing the working the controls, so to speak. But Tesla is a car I want to have. I really want one. I want to have a Model 3, but I'm not the early adopter type in any way, shape, or form of any type of technology either. I'm a techie, but I know better. Never buy the first iteration of anything because it's usually buggy. Well, okay, so the Model 3 is not the first iteration. We're on, fourth iteration of Tesla now, I believe, with the Model 3. Because actually they had the Roadster, and then they had the Model S, and then the Model X. And I think there was something else somewhere in there, too, that they no longer make. But anyhow, that's where we're at. See if there's anything else I wanted to discuss about Tesla here. I do want to know if you think a Tesla would be something that would be interesting to own. I want to know if anyone else out there who's not in it for not in it to appease the liberal gods, not in it to hug the planet. Maybe you are. Hey, send me those emails too. But I want to know if you want a Tesla or if you don't want a Tesla, and why so. What would you think of a car that you could drive to and from work every day without putting gas in it? You don't have to put oil in it. You have to put washer fluid in it and replace the tires. You might have to lube bearings and things like that over the years as the thing ages. And yes, eventually you do have to replace the battery pack. And I don't know how that works either. So that's one of the questions that you have to answer is, when this battery pack reaches EOL, end of life, What is the replacement plan? What is it Tesla does for you when that battery is past its expected lifetime? Because it will get there. That's the one difference between a car, a regular internal combustion engine. You can almost infinitely fix an internal combustion car. Every piece and part on the standard internal combustion engine is a standardized part, and you can buy and or make replacements for them. The engine itself can be completely rebuilt. There is no end of life, technically, on an engine. You can rebuild an engine almost infinitely until you crack the block. If you crack the block, you're done. Crack or warp the block, you're done. But as long as that engine is cared for properly and taken care of, it could run infinitely. Batteries can't do that. Batteries, flat out, have an end of life. This is the point at which you can no longer use this battery. Get a new one. So what's Tesla's plan for that, and what's the cost on that? That's my other question. Because, yeah, the car's $35,000. How much is that battery 10 years later? Well, that's it. That's what I got this week, folks. That's what I've come up with. A couple of stories to talk about. Tesla and an unfortunate another shooting. I do have one cool thing here to talk about.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Wrong button. I'm going to be doing some editing later.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So the cool thing I want to talk about this week is a little website called ifixit.com. That's ifixit.com. ifixit.com is a place to go to look at, basically look at teardowns of devices. If you're like me and you don't have a lot of money, you fix your own stuff, including your own car, which is why I may or may not buy a Tesla at any point. My phones, my last phone, I fixed it 3 or 4 times before I finally gave it up. When Google Fi came around, I finally bought a phone because I more or less had to. But ifixit.com is the techie's friend. Even if you don't care about fixing your own phone, if you never want to fix your own cracked screen on your phone, fine. It's fun to look at. I love watching the teardowns on that. It actually gives you, even if you personally aren't going to fix your phone, looking on there and looking at the teardown ratings, because they have a repairability rating of every device that they tear apart on there. And looking at those ratings informs you as to what it's going to be like if you break that phone. Because whether or not it's even repairable is going to be a major factor when you bring it to a repair shop. Because if you buy a $500 or $600 phone and you don't have insurance on it, or maybe even if you do and would rather just pay to have it fixed, if you bring it into a cellular repair shop and say, I've cracked my screen, fix it. Okay, well, we've got to buy the entire body of the phone to fix that. So it's going to be $300. What? Ooh, ow, ooh, ooh. I'll just buy a new phone. And then you end up buying a new phone again. Well, Nexus 5X, my phone, is fairly repairable. Thankfully, it's pretty modular. All the pieces and parts in there come out one at a time. Now, you do have to buy the whole front body, but everything attached to the body comes out. So it's only like 40 or 50 bucks. And I could actually do it. That's the other thing. If I wanted to, because I've watched the iFixit video, I'd have to watch it again, but I could do it. You can buy all the tools there, you can watch the instructional videos, and you can watch them over and over again, and they've got step-by-step progress bars for anything they've individually torn down. So they've got their own teardowns, and then other people post teardowns on there too. The official ones, though, come with a guide. Those are the ones that you want to look at. And hey, for those of you who are iPhone fanatics out there, why, I don't know, I'm an Android guy, but hey, that's all right. To each their own. For those of you who are iPhones out there, every iPhone ever made has been torn down by iFixit, including the new CE. So if you want to know how to fix your iPhone, go on ifixit.com.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. So what we need now, and I've talked about it a couple times throughout this show, we need you to go to the website and we need you to send us your emails. We need you to go to commonamerican.com. Let us know what you think. And if you need to,
Tell me I'm wrong.
there you go. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you disagree with my opinions, because I want that feedback. This show is only as good as the people who listen to it. I want you involved, folks. So along with that, the phone number for us is 512-82-WRONG.
Tell me I'm wrong.
That's 512-829-7664. And so emails, feedback at commonamerican.com, website, commonamerican.com. Phone numbers, 512-82-WRONG. Because my old podcast was the Tell Me I'm Wrong podcast. So I don't have any messages of the day because nobody's emailed me or called me, and I'm sad. So fix that, please. That's it for this week. And I want to hear back from you guys, so tell me what you think. Oh, and again, as I was saying at the top of the show, I'm in search of a co-host. So I need someone out there who's interested in podcasting to email me. Let me know that you want to be in the show. Then if you watch the video online, you'll see how it's done. I use Google Hangouts, so it's pretty straightforward to record the show live online so that I upload it. It also gives me a secondary backup to my audio recording just in case that fails, because Google does record it. And I can Google has a way that I can download the video and the audio separately if I need to. Well, Google doesn't have a way. There's a secret little backdoor way to do it that us techie, hackery people know how to do. In any case, there is. I need a co-host. I need someone to join me in the quest for co-hostiness of the Common Americans. Until next time, thanks for watching and listening. Thank you for watching and listening to the Common American Podcast. To find out more about our show, go to www.commonamerican.com. You can get in touch with us, email us, call us, tweet us, support us, and berate us from the various links there. Common American is an independent production. Remember, support your independent artists and content creators. Do. Stop.